Hello and welcome to Geeks Assembled, in which today we will be reviewing the timey-wimey, I guess, psychological fucky-wookie thriller Inception from perhaps the greatest director to ever grace planet Earth, Sir Christopher of the Nolan.
No, yes.
I goddamn love Christopher Nolan, as you'll probably tell throughout this cast. Let's go over to opening thoughts and we'll fire off immediately and delve into the dream world with Lee's opening thoughts, in which he doesn't have any dreams, he just has nightmares.
Yes, and you know what I usually have nightmares about? This group. It's, opening thoughts. It's a pretty damn good movie. The effects, the storytelling, it's just out there. And the acting, of course, Leonardo, Tom Hardy. It is a good movie, but if you've never seen it before, and this is your first viewing of Inception, it might be slightly confusing because as soon as it starts, you're straight into the story. You're straight into the dream world, which you don't realise until maybe 10 minutes into the movie. But it is. I don't know who came up with the idea. Inducing dreams, dream within a dream, trying to get information out of dreams and stuff like that. But this is about putting information into someone's dream. As Connor said in the opening, to use the phrase timey-wimey, it does mess with your head, but it's such a thrill ride all the way through. You can't complain about it. It's just action. It's was this movie Tom Hardy's audition for Bond in some of the sequences? I think so. But yeah, it's a pretty good movie, and all round good ensemble cast. So that's my opening thoughts for now. Back to you, Connor.
Thank you, Lee. Let's go over to Craig and David next.
I've come to the conclusion that I think that Christopher Nolan he's like a visionary director. He's very not left field, but he's almost like outside the box, and he likes to do things differently in terms of his directional style, and whether it be like but filming something with a new special effect or something that hasn't been done before, he manages to achieve it, whether it be Tenet or this particular movie. The cast was great. It was almost like, for me, spot the Batman actor, which was quite fun. Yeah. But yeah, all round, I really good movie.
It's like a sort of it is like you actually do feel like you're in a dream. It kind of makes you a little bit dozy. You start to sort of lose your own sort of like feeling of reality. Again, another classic from Leonardo, who has just moved on and upwards, through the years, from sort of like when Titanic, Romeo and Juliet, and just like for me, actually, Tom Hardy, it's funny now. Connor sort of says like about James Bond, sort of new James Bond. I think he will make a good Bond, But Inception is like, them just before you wake up sometimes. Yeah, that sort of, I had it this morning. It's like you're inside the dream. You're just waking up from the dream, but you're still kind of clinging on to it. But that feel of reality is not very tenable. Anyway, yeah.
And I'm wondering, did he get the idea from Flatliners meets the Matrix or something like that? I don't know.
Absolutely,
like inducing yourself into a sleep state
That's
sort
right.
of thing.
That sort of unsure state of mind.
So I'd be curious to find out where he gets his idea from.
Scary.
I'd love to pick his brain.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's one of my dreams.
Feel like
Thank you, Craig and David. Let's go over to Tim next. Tim, what's your opening thoughts?
Well, to answer that question, he has been working on this movie for about 10 years. He had the idea about 10 years. He'd been working on a script for that long, according to the extras on the Blu-ray. But no, this is a brilliant movie. This is an amazing movie. I love a movie that has a really unreliable reality that you have to really think about and keep your grasp on what's going on. It's a movie that demands a second watch almost right away if you have 5 hours to spare. But it's an excellent movie. What really I like the most is the ambiguity of the ending, because it could be so many different ways. It could go so many different ways. Like which part is a dream, which one isn't. It's set up to work that way, so you end up spending the next 10 years talking about this movie, which people have. I mean, this movie is constantly being talked about and discussed to this day, which is, it came out 10 years ago. So yeah, it's an amazing film, and it's an amazing piece of work for Nolan, who really is one of the best directors working today. All of his movies have been, really good, really well thought out, and this is just an iconic film that really demands a lot from the audience, there's nothing wrong with that. I think this is probably one of his best. It kind of points the way to Tenet. Tenet is quite similar in some ways, but quite different in others. But it's got the same sort of mystery setup where you have to really think about what you're watching if you can understand what you're seeing and what's going on. And I also like the fact too that the lead character is kind of unreliable too. He's telling these stories throughout, but he's also quite a villain in other ways. I mean, he's somebody that steals people's memories or whatever he claims to. That's the business they're in. And what he's trying to do here is something he's done once before, but didn't end well for him or his family. So I mean, he's an ambiguous character himself. I love the ambiguity of the whole thing. I mean, because you get to the end of the film and you have to think, wow, what did I just see? And you have to pretty much watch it again, and you'll pick up things you might have missed the first time. One thing he gets away with too, Nolan, is that this movie has a lot of exposition in it. It's a very talky film, and it needs to be though, because they have to let the audience in on what's going on, and they did a really good job of that, I think, without being over the top or without boring the audience. You know what I mean? The audience gets taken for the ride, and they do a good job of doing that, even though it's a very talky movie. That's my open for now. So.
Thank you, Tim. Let's go over to Susan. Susan, what's your opening thoughts?
Well, it is amazing. This is the second in a series of mind-altering experiences that we've had this weekend. The first one was Memory Lane, an Eighth Doctor audio adventure, and this one is as dramatic. I like Leonardo Dicaprio. I think that he always plays a character that is both good and bad, has both sides going on. He is an astute student of acting, and he's worked with the best. In this case, he worked with Michael Caine and Ken Watanabe and Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Ellen Page and Tom Hardy, to name a few, and Cillian Murphy, of course. And this is the second week in a row we've done a Cillian Murphy movie. So yeah, we've the intricacy of this movie is fun, and how it ends is hopeful. I tend to infuse hope into it, and it starts off rather abruptly, as has been said, and and it's layer upon layer and upon maze, and that's fun. And the effects are phenomenal. Really, really great. Anyway, that's my opening thoughts. Over to you, Connor.
Thank you, Susan. Now, my opening thoughts. Yeah, Christopher Nolan doesn't shy away from kind of these big movies that I think most directors would worry are too complicated for the audience. But actually, when you break this one down, it's difficult to understand, but the structure of it is brilliant. It's a heist movie disguised as a kind of psychological thriller, I think. And when they kind of get into the main heist part of it, it's a film working on three levels, literally. So you've got the three kind of dream states. You've got the one that's got DiCaprio and Ellen Page in it, which is kind of like the nod, which I found brilliant, and kind of only makes me. He's recently done it, but only makes me want Nolan to do a Bond movie even more. So it's a very clear nod to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and then you've got Joseph Gordon-Levitt in the hotel. That's the second dream state, and then you've got the third one, which is the van reversing backwards off the bridge, and they've all got to work to get to the point of the van hitting the water, and the shock of the water waking them all up to achieve their goal. But you never quite know where you are with it, because you never know if you're in reality or if you're in a dream. And one way of telling it, which is actually quite unreliable, I believe, and there's been like papers written on this movie, it's been so kind of thoroughly thought into, is the little, I can't remember what they call them, the little spinny thing.
Top.
What's that?
A top, a totem, both a totem is what it is in the movie, and a top.
It's a dreidel.
It's not a dreidel. It's not four-sided, but it's a top.
Yeah. Okay. The top. That's kind of the sign of whether you're supposed to be in the dream state or not. But then towards the end, it gets more confusing. And apparently, Christopher Nolan said the reality scenes are whatever scenes Michael Caine appears in. So whatever scene Michael Caine is in towards the end is the reality. But it's also, Tim mentioned it took 10 years for Nolan to conceive. In fact, I think it took him nearly 20 from the point of having the idea and conceiving the story to then write. It took him 10 years to write the script, but it took him, before he even started to write the script, it kind of took him another 10 years. It's been an unbelievable process. He said one of the issues he had with kind of coming up with it was that there was no emotional center to it. There was no emotional story. And then from that grew the idea of DiCaprio having his wife played brilliantly by Marion Cotillard, and his two kids, trying to get back to his two kids. And that's kind of that kind of opened up the whole Pandora's box of this movie. And from there on, he was able to bring it together. Fabulous movie. Probably it'd be very difficult to find people that A, haven't seen this movie, I think, and B, those who have seen it who don't consider it to be one of the greatest of all time ever made, just because it's so unique. And that's really Nolan's kind of selling point. He goes for the unique aspect, and he's just done it again with Tenet, which hopefully one day we'll review. But yeah, the story of this is fantastic. The characters are fantastic. I love DiCaprio in this. I especially love Tom Hardy in this as Eames. And to be honest, I think, yeah, Lee's right. This is as they watched Layer Cake to kind of decide on Daniel Craig being Bond. I think they watched this and thought, yeah, you know what, Tom Hardy would make a great Bond. By that token, they should watch Tenet and surmise that actually Robert Pattinson would also make a great Bond, because in many ways I think Tom Hardy's character and Robert Pattinson's character in both movies share similar attributes. They're very charismatic, they're very suave, very kind of I can't think of the word. They never look like a bag of shit, really. They're always dressed up to kind of impress, aren't they, in a way? But that's not the intention of why they dress up like that.
Well, I would argue that Washington would be a good choice as well, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah, exactly. To be honest, you're absolutely correct there. But to go back to this movie, the action in this, particularly the rotating hallway, which was actually achieved by building a set on kind of like a roller thing, and they rolled the set, which is unbelievable and was kind of groundbreaking at the time. That is one of the best action scenes I think you could ever hope to conceive as a filmmaker. It's just full of absolutely gorgeous moments. Production design is fantastic. The characters are well written. The story is intriguing. It never gets boring. It's just a really well-paced thriller that's confusing, but it never kind of loses itself. It never gets too out of control. So it doesn't take a massive amount of intellect or concentration to really kind of keep up with it, because it's just kind of so watertight. But yeah, it's just kind of testament to Christopher Nolan's genius, really. So I think for my opening thoughts, that's about all I can say. Let's go over to favourite moments, of which I'm sure everyone will have many. Let's first go over to, let's go in the same order again. Lee, what are your favourite moments?
Well, can I just say, you said it was phenomenal technology about the revolving corridor.
Yeah.
Lionel Richie did it in 1986, Dancing on the Ceiling in his video.
That doesn't count.
Fred Astaire did it in a movie back in the 1950s or 40s. It's not new technology, they just advanced it. But that is one of my favourite scenes in this movie. That corridor scene with Levitt fighting with the, it was just so well done. And it was sort of, it went along with the van in the water, because he was swimming through the air. They were both swimming through the air, and it was revolving. It was so well done. The camera work on that is amazing. As you mentioned, the snowscape with Tom Hardy and Caprio and all like that on the evil villain base. So Bond, so an emergency secret service, as you say. And you say this right. Let me get this straight now. The spinning top, if it keeps spinning, it's a dream.
It's a dream, yeah.
So the movie ended with it still spinning.
Yeah, that's the ending is one of probably the most ambiguous endings.
But then you said every scene with Michael Caine in it is reality.
Well, it has been argued over the years that it is just starting to stop spinning in that scene when he goes to hug the children. So I mean, it's ambiguous, like you said.
Yeah.
So
it's a really good ending, because, as you say, it makes you wonder, where is he? Reality, dream? Is he still stuck there in limbo? Or but yeah, so well, and also the street scenes where where he's sort of training the new architect, and she's just going over the top with everything. The buildings, the roads are going over that, and they're just walking up to the road and they're going up again, and with the mirrors. And but I also do like the conception of his wife always turning up to with a death blow sort of thing, which happened about 2 or 3 times in this movie. Who would put, I mean, he'd be the only person to do that, put his own wife to stop it going on. It's a complicated thing, but it's so well done. Those are a few of my scenes anyway. I could go on forever on this, but I'll let those people go. Over to you, Connor.
Thank you, Lee. Let's go over to Craig and David next.
It's just multi-layered. It's funny that this movie seems to work on you after you've watched it. You know, it can sort of, a couple of days later, you'll suddenly think of scene, you think, oh wow, that's right. Oh yeah. So it's kind of working on you. Maybe that's what the actual title means, Inception, you know. It is placing something inside your head, you know. And the spinning rotunda, also used in 2001, Space Odyssey, you know, Kubrick, when the astronauts were running, it was an actual rotating giant hamster wheel to put together for that scene for when they were inside Discovery. But yeah, anything with Caprio now is just becoming legendary. It's great.
I liked my favourite scenes probably.
The bus.
I was going to say the car scenes, but that's Tenet. So I've got the 2 films jumbled up. The snow stuff was cool, and I mean,
well, the fallen city.
I think when the van is falling, I thought I wanted it to feel tenser, but at one point I was thinking, look, just hurry up and crash into the water. But there's so many
levels. You know?
Yeah, I liked all of this movie really. I mean, but I think the ending is what got me, because it was almost like a Shutter Island ending, because it made me well up at the end, because I realised like the guy's still dreaming, and then it ended, and I was really rooting for him to see his kids, and
you wanted him to.
It made me really emotional, actually. Yeah, I felt quite.
You wanted him to resolve things at the end, you know, and it's interesting.
It's like, what would you rather have, like a lobotomy in Shutter Island, or never see your kids again? It's like a toss-up. But
going back to like the mystery schools, you know, they said like the imagination is the real reality, whatever that concept is, and what we're actually living in is just basically a taster of how things could go, you know. So
isn't it scary though that you know, how do we know we're not just living in a dream?
No,
what if, God forbid, what if we were actually in a big coma, and then suddenly we would just wake up after 20 years and then we've lived this life that we're living now? But then I think Nolan likes to play on the idea of psychosis in general. It's a big thing, man. It's quite a big statement, really.
Does anybody remember Strange Days? The movie Strange Days. That was again like playing with memory, you know, or playing with or selling other people's memories. That's quite interesting. There's one part in it where the guy he can't walk anymore, but he sells him a dream of running down through the sea, you know, just running down the seafront, really nicely, you know. But this is a movie that really works on you on many levels. It's still working on you now.
And I liked Michael Caine was probably my favourite character, because basically one of my good old friends who's in his 80s is one of my old friends from the pub, and he is that guy. He walks around with a Harrods bag, and he's ex-MOD, worked for all the things and like different services and that, and he is, I don't know who's playing who. So that was just a perfect little. I love that a bit. Michael Caine. And he's eating his dinner as well and talking the same. As brilliant acting.
Maybe the movie was sponsored by Tavistock.
No, don't start with that.
Don't start
they'll
that.
cut us. They'll cut the Wi-Fi off.
Thank you, Craig and David. Let's go to Tim next for his favourite moments.
Well, I'd have to say the ambiguity of the whole movie. I have a question, sort of, because isn't it not possible that the entire story takes place in a dream that the DiCaprio character is having, because when you see the scene, the second to last scene, when he's walking through the airport, they don't seem to recognize each other. Are these not just random people that he's populated his dream with, people that were in the same plane or at the same airport with for the entire film? I don't think that's negated in the film. I think that's one possible way to look at it. That's what I like about Nolan. I'm surprised Nolan came out and said that any scene with so-and-so is real, because that just takes away from the ambiguity of it. You really had to let the audience make up their mind. But on the other hand, it could have just been a flippant comment, just like whatevs, you know. I think that's the most amazing accomplishment of this film, is that you really don't know what's real and what's not. Even at the end of the film, you're left questioning it. And to me, that's brilliant. Also, I agree with Lee about that one scene with the hallway. That's an amazing piece of work right there. And the way the character goes and rounds up all the bodies and puts them in an elevator so that they won't die of impact when he finally blows the whatever. It's just an amazing piece of work. And I think it's great that it's still a practical effect. It's not done with CGI. I don't think, for the most part. It's pretty much just like Lee pointed out, it's been done in music videos before. So I mean, this is a great film.
Thank you, Tim. Susan, what's your favorite moment?
Yeah, I don't think that anybody I don't think that Nolan said that to anybody, except for he said that to Michael Caine so that Michael Caine would repeat that. I don't think that Michael Caine necessarily knows what the dream sequence is and what is reality, because I think that Christopher Nolan was handing that to him to make it, to allow him to lend gravitas to his moments, because Michael Caine likes to know things. He's an intellectual actor, and so that's what I think happened there. My favorite scene is where the city's rolling up, because every single roof in that whole city is a mansard roof, and I'm obsessed with mansard roofs. They are the most gorgeous Second Empire roofs, and this whole city was made of them, and they were rolling up, and they have a gabled steep section, and then a really gradual top slope. And as the city was rolling up, you could see the gables and the top slope of every single roof in that city. And to me, that was, first of all, it's an obsession of mine. Second of all, it's gorgeous cinematography. And these are beautiful, beautiful buildings. And yeah, so I was absolutely amazed by that scene. And the architect was, you know, she was well played. I mean, all the acting was well done. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, there were people like Tom Berenger that nobody's mentioned, and let's see, Ken Watanabe. Oh, I did mention him, and Pete Postlethwaite and Lucas Haas, and then there were a couple of the Nolan. Well, Magnus Nolan was in it, and Miranda Nolan. So I don't know if those are Nolan's children or his wife. So I mean, in and of itself, Nolan has put his own children in this. So I mean, he's rooting for kids, right? So like there is a level where Nolan is telling his own story, and yet he's also telling the story of all of this great heist and this great drug-induced dream state memory thing. And so I will be obsessed with that city rolling up shot for the rest of my life, because it's got such absolutely gorgeous roofs in it. And yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, my favorite moments, as I previously mentioned, the snow scenes, which is a direct kind of shout to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, is by far my favourite scene. Yeah, the rotating hallway again, fantastic. One of my favourite scenes though, and one that no one's mentioned yet, which I'm quite surprised about, is when they first arrive in the rainy, I guess it's New York, something like that. It's supposed to be, it's a big city anyway. And the train, I think it's a train, isn't it? It kind of starts to crash through the streets for no apparent reason, and I think it's because, if I remember correctly, Youssef dreamed it up. And then there's the shootout, which leads to him getting fatally wounded. That's just fantastic. There's just so much action that kind of makes no sense, but at the same time, it's just such a spectacle to watch. And I also like all the scenes between DiCaprio and Mai, because I think for Nolan's not known for like his characters. I don't think. I think the best kind of character piece he's done is Memento, because it's based around kind of like a tragedy between a man and a wife. But for this one, I think he's kind of got close to that again, because usually his characters quite not wooden, but they're not, the secondary to the plot, the secondary to the story, to the concept that he's trying to pull off. The emotional kind of backbone of this with the children and Cobb and Mai. The scene I'm thinking of in particular is when she's kind of sitting on the window sill. Sort of that's one that sticks in my mind the most. It's just fantastic character work, I think, and it gives Cobb a depth which allows DiCaprio to kind of really eat up the performance without it coming across like he's a kind of a void shell of a man just serving the story, or coming secondary to the story. Another favourite moment is that one line from Tom Hardy, which is constantly quoted, and it is pretty damn good. And it is, "Don't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling." That is just fantastic writing. I do love that one. So yeah, in all, they're just my favourite moments. It's just so full of exciting. I think this was really the movie where not Kubrick, Nolan got his name for being the modern day Kubrick in many ways, because then he followed this up with The Dark Knight Rises and then Interstellar. Interstellar was kind of the apex of the Kubrick comparisons. But I think that just the way that he's challenged the audiences here for 2.5 hours or so is just it's very difficult. It's one of them movies that's very difficult to kind of pick out a definitive favourite moment. And it's, I love a good movie where you can debate it for years and years and years, and it still never gets solved. You never feel like you've kind of figured it all out. And this is kind of this is on the Mount Rushmore of them movies, I think. So yeah, just overall, it's a masterpiece. I was trying to avoid that word because it's a bit cliche, but I think it is it's a pretty damn good masterpiece. So with that down, let's go over to final saying scores. Does anyone have any final say before we move over to score specifically?
Susan did mention that Pete Postlethwaite was in this. He was playing Cillian Murphy's dying father. If I'm right, this might might be Pete Postlethwaite's maybe second to last, something like that movie before he died. He died of I think it was prostate cancer. But to get, I mean, he was a damn good actor, was Pete Postlethwaite, and to just get him there to lay in a bed and say a few lines, just entice him, just a couple of hours work maybe, just to entice him to lay in a bed and say, a couple of lines. I think, wow, Christopher Nolan's got a bit of pull. You know what I mean? A dying actor.
Yeah.
Because he most certainly was suffering at this point when they were filming. So, going out with a bang. What a movie to go. But
Christopher Nolan's one of them directors that if you get a phone call from him or you get a script, you'd be an absolute
Have you had
idiot.
a phone call off him? You've had a phone call off him?
I wish I had a phone call off him.
Christmas card? Christmas card?
No Christmas cards, only from Martin.
Only from Martin. Well, me and Connor did have a little chat during the week about Christopher Nolan, and we did sort of come to a conclusion that he is slowly disappearing up his own arsehole.
There's an aspect of that. I mean,
yeah.
If you see Tenet, he's lost his mind.
Why would you say that?
I don't understand what you mean by that.
He's pushing the boundaries of filming.
That's a good thing.
Good thing. He's going to push and push and push and confuse the audience more and more. Which I think I haven't seen Tenet, but I think it is a bit more confusing than
he's at the point where he might start to lose the audience if he gets
He might have lost them with his last movie. I mean, you never know. Not everybody's a war movie buff and cares about Dunkirk. You know what I'm saying? Even though that's a brilliant film, I'm just saying that you run that risk every time you make a film. I would think if you're a serious director. Sorry, didn't mean to rain on your parade. But.
No.
Sorry, what were you saying, Craig?
I think Tenet was easier to follow, even though it made no sense. So I was going to say something. But both fucking awesome movies, man. Yeah.
It's just, I was just talking about.
I think he's perfected the art of puzzle movies, where it all does fit together, but you really have to analyze it and think about it quite a while before you can completely understand it. And even into this one's ambiguous enough to where there's not one correct answer as to what it all is. You can't definitively say exactly what happens in this film because it is a matter of perspective, what you bring to it, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying. I mean, me and Connor did agree on it. He is pushing and pushing, confusing and confusing. He is going to just disappear and go pop.
That's why I think he's a visionary director.
Yeah. If anything, he just runs the risk of running out of ideas or maybe having, a film that's not received so well if he takes one on. So, I mean, does he want to? I mean, he's done Batman movies, so he's already played in other people's playground. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think his better films are ones like this and Tenet, which are more of a challenging puzzle kind of film, which he does a really good job with.
I'd love to see his director's book where the companies turned around and said, "Look, this can't be achieved yet.
No.
Whatever you're."
I think he gets what he wants. Look at how he really stuck it to the studio and said, "No, you're putting this in theaters, and you're not going to put it out before then," because they were really getting to the point where they said, "No, we got to put this out for streaming because of the virus or whatever." And he said, "No, it's going to be in theaters. You decide when, but it's going to be in theaters." I mean, he held his ground. He got what he wanted. So
that's the way. I
think it's the only film keeping Cineworld alive at the moment as well. Because they had a massive slump, and they've reported that sales are up because of Tenet. Yeah.
The majority of what they put out lately is crap anyway. It's not every day you get a Nolan picture. So.
Yeah, I mean, as Lee was saying, we did have that conversation. Not that I would complain if he did put out another film like this or Tenet, because it's Christopher Nolan. You go to the cinema, God knows how many times a year. The majority of the time, you see good stuff, but you don't see challenging stuff. And a lot of times, crap. Look at all the not to on superhero films, but look at like the sort of wave of superhero films you get every year. So these films from directors like Nolan, you know, Scorsese, all them lot, are kind of a bit of a treat to kind of come across, I think, every once in a while, every 3 or 4 years, whenever they decide to do one. And, you know, Dunkirk was fantastic, and that was less complicated. I would like him to kind of switch between stripping it back a bit more, like Memento or Insomnia or Dunkirk, and also going for the pushing the boundaries, visionary sort of aspect to his. I think if he can kind of continuously keep jumping between them two criteria, I think I don't think he's capable of making a bad film. I just don't think that I think he's got all the right tools that allow him, whatever he does, to kind of do it really well. And I think that's just the way that he's crafted, that he's worked on his craft in many ways. There are many directors that have really good filmographies but have really bad films in it. There's some that have great filmographies that don't have a bad film in it. Then
I don't mind bad films every now and again.
Yeah, but bad films aren't always terrible. I mean, it's a matter of,
but
like Christopher Nolan has 10 films now, 11 films now, and most of them are really well known. Like Interstellar, Inception, Dunkirk.
It says 17 on IMDb.
I think he was an executive producer on some of them, but I don't think.
No, these are the ones that he directed.
He's not directed 17 films for sure.
He has directed 17 films.
He's not. He can't have directed 17 films.
Maybe he did. Maybe he did some short films in his early days.
Yeah, probably. It was probably the short films as well that was counting.
That's what they tend to do. In fact, Denzel Washington, I heard a speech of his the other day where he was congratulating all the younger new directors and telling them, you know, to keep working hard because it's very hard to get your foot in the door. And he said, if you're just making small, short films, keep doing it until somebody sees it and decides to hire you, basically.
Yeah. I think that's how the industry works, but I think Nolan kind of needs to keep doing what he's doing because I think in many ways he's kind of the sole person keeping original cinema in many ways alive.
I wouldn't say that. You've got your Tarantino also. You've got other people that, but like you said, some people only make a movie every 3 years or so. And now, especially the uncertainty of this year.
Lynch.
Yeah, well, he hadn't made a movie in 10 years. No.
At the same time, though, would you call?
Because Tim Burton did like about 20 short films.
Yeah.
Would you call Tarantino?
They've got to start somewhere, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Would you call Tarantino's and David Lynch's films blockbusters, though, in the same way that you would call Nolan's?
No, I think Lynch has to struggle to find an audience most of the time, and Tarantino doesn't. His films have been blockbusters for the most part. They don't always sell well for whatever reason. That double feature two-hander he did with Rodriguez, tanked at the box office, but I don't know why. Neither one of them was a bad film. So they were just basically making schlocky B movies, and they put them together as a double feature. And I guess maybe people just figure, I don't want to sit in the cinema for 5 hours. I'm just going to wait until the DVD comes out. I don't know, but I'm just saying, for the most part, Tarantino's are blockbusters, and I don't think Nolan's always are. I don't think Dunkirk performed that great at the box office, did it?
No, Dunkirk wasn't a blockbuster.
So you see the point.
It was like an art movie.
Well, it depends on so many aspects, like marketing. Does marketing work? I mean, it did for Tenet because it was the only movie coming out, and because everybody was tired of waiting to go to the cinema. I mean, but I still don't know how it performed either here or overseas because it pretty much is limited release still. I mean, because of the virus. So I mean,
Tenet budget was $200 million. Box office so far $251 million.
So it has to make about 400 million.
It has to double its money to be not
Mm.
considered a
Oh.
flop. But under these circumstances, I don't think. I mean, you could expect anything to perform like it would have, if it was before March.
I mean, look at
and Insomnia weren't blockbusters either.
yeah, but you look at the budget for Inception, $160 million. It raked in just short of 837 million.
Wow.
That's a blockbuster.
I would just say
Yeah.
you could argue that all his movies are critically acclaimed, even if they don't pull in the money.
Yeah, but you can say that about Burton. You can say that about Lynch. They are critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
And for me, enjoyable movies. It's just not everybody's cup of tea.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's why I think that's the point of the conversation earlier, because your question was should he continue to make these kind of puzzling movies, or should he throw in the occasional Batman, for example, to where his audience isn't going to say, no, you're too far up your own ass. I mean, like you're implying. So
I wouldn't say no to another Batman.
I did say it was.
I mean, for example, a crowd-pleasing movie that people are going to go see instead of just because, I mean, his Batman movies are a lot better than the schlock Marvel's been putting out lately. For example,
Definitely.
yeah. So
Dark Knight. All the way.
Brilliant.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, what a movie. Any other final comments before we go to scores?
Any
final?
No, I think
No,
it's been.
no.
I think everyone's been very insightful and covered quite a. I do like the scene of the bus falling off the bridge. That kind of sort of shocks you back into reality, if there is a reality in this movie.
All right, then we'll move on to scores. Let's go over to Lee first.
Relax then.
Enjoyable.
Enjoyable. Story's great. The effects are brilliant. The acting's brilliant. So for me, it's going to be 10 Gordon-Levitts out of 10.
Do you need so many?
Let's go over to Craig and David.
It's a 10 from us.
Thank you, Craig and David. Let's go over to Susan.
All right. Well, now I've stolen all of your ideas, and I have spun 10 tops, I suppose. 10 spinning tops out of 10.
Thank you, Susan. Tim? Is that
What you don't say.
No, he's gonna bark 10 times. No, it's one of the best movies ever made. It's easily a 10.
Did I get my
You can
cat?
give it a 10,
Yeah.
Connor. Paco.
Okay, I will give it. I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Might as well.
I'm surprised.
Finally.
I mean, like anyone's surprised, it's Christopher Nolan. Of course, it gets a 10. What are you, stupid? Yeah. So thank you.
Now that I've stolen all of your ideas and I'm planning on waking up soon, that's fine with me.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us for our review of Christopher Nolan's Inception. Like, subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications on whenever we post our videos. That would be highly appreciated. Leave a comment if you wish. We always like that. And if you want to join the group, message Lee and he'll bore you to death. Always. Telling you all the rules and regulations. And then, as I said last week, he'll kick you out after 3 weeks.
As soon as I say TikTok.
TikTok. So, yeah. Once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.